More castor oil stories. Any first aid kit should contain a generous supply of castor oil. Each time I gather the right dates in my backyard, I'm left with 1 or 2 pinpricks from the sharp guardians of this fruit. Castor oil, applied liberally to the injured areas, has always brought healing to the skin without developing infection. One of our boys stepped on a 3-pronged metal hanger, used for pegboards, and punctured the sole of his foot. http://worldwideweb.educase.org/health/data/castor1.html 67 of 69, 10 hours 23 minutes and 44 seconds p.m. Edgar Cayce Health Database, anecdotal case reports, remedies, products. Rather deeply into places. A sloppy castor oil pack, applied after the bleeding had stopped, was kept in place until healing was almost completed, matter of just a few days. The pain eased up immediately upon application of the pack. And on the second day weight was put on the injured foot. Healing progressed, and the length of time for it certainly decreased. From the supplement to reading 29661, the following story explores further the healing abilities of the castor oil pack, this time being placed on the abdomen. An A.R.E. member, having read this particular reading, wrote in a report about her own use of the pack. I used the castor oil packs for a fibroid tumor on my uterus. I used 3 thicknesses of flannel with the oil, and a heating pad 3 or 4 nights a week. I started about 9:30 p.m. and would read until sleepy, then turn out the lights and heating pad at the same time. Leaving the flannel and heating pad in place, I would sleep until ready to turn over. About 1 a.m. and then remove everything. This continued about 6 months. At my next yearly checkup, the doctor said left square bracket the fibroid, right square bracket had disappeared. Still another castor oil story concerns a woman known to bleed heavily during any kind of surgical procedure. She needed to have some osseous surgery from a periodontist, and there was no option that she could see to the procedure. So she went ahead with the dental surgery, but bled a great deal that day, all night, and the next morning. She had been vomiting and the side of her tongue was raw and painful. Next morning she came to the clinic and her symptoms were put under control. She was instructed to place a castor oil pack on the side of her face, where the surgery had been performed. She applied the pack every night for the next 2 weeks. There had been much extravasation of blood and subsequent ecchymosis. But let her tell the story, since it was her job. On the late afternoon of the 19th left square bracket the day following the surgery right square bracket, I went to Dr. Watkins' office. He took out the dressing and the huge blood clots and put a pink plaster cast over my teeth and gums. A week and 2 days later I had another appointment. His assistant removed the cast and the stitches. When the doctor walked in the door, I said, "Well, it's all over." He said, "I'm afraid not. I'll have to put another coat of dressing on." Well, I was terribly disappointed. But when he looked into my mouth, he couldn't get over how fast it had healed and said that he wouldn't have to put any more dressing on. He told me to keep it all very clean, use warm salt water, and call him immediately if it began to swell. Everything went along quite well and I went for my next appointment a week later. He said it was fine and had healed beautifully. Then I said, "You seemed surprised, when I was here last week, that I had healed so fast." He said, "I certainly was, because normally for this type of surgery it takes a month to heal. I usually have to put on a coat of dressing 3 times. Then we discussed my bleeding heavily and that normally I heal slower than most, having had transfusions in the past. Then I told him about the castor oil pack, and how I used it every time I lay down for a nap, or at night." Left square bracket note, the preceding report was provided by William McGarry, M.D. and is excerpted from the A.R.E. Journal. May, 1984, Volume 19, No. 3, page 126, copyright 1984 by the Edgar Cayce Foundation, Virginia Beach, Virginia, right square bracket. Note, the above information is not intended for self-diagnosis or self-treatment. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional for assistance in applying the information contained in the case health database.